What's up, you guys? It's Sir Scrub here, bringing you some more Scrub Tier Yu-Gi-Oh! Before we get into today's video, please leave a like and subscribe, and let me know what you think down in the comments section below. With all that junk out of the way, let's jump both feet into today's video. So today we're going to be dissecting Sky Striker. This is considered to be the best deck for this format, and is a really powerful deck. But for those of you that are new to this series, I break this video down into 3 parts. The strength of the Sky Striker deck from that player's perspective, how to beat the deck when going first, and then how to beat the deck when going second. With all that exposition out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into this. So Sky Strikers. Where do I begin with this deck? This is one of the best grind and control deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! History. This deck's ability to simply outlive its competitors, as well as control the board with powerful cards like Widow Anchor to steal and negate monster effects, Afterburner to pop monsters and back row, and much more. Not to mention constantly plussing off of Engage, which in my opinion is one of the most broken cards ever printed. I can make a whole video about that card. And then the deck can use multi-roll to recover the majority of its cards used during its turn. So for those that don't know how this deck works, it's completely reliant on spell cards. The majority of the archetype is spells, and all the spells get bonus effects when you have 3 spells already in the grave. As well, the deck uses its only main deck monster, Ray, to go into Link 1 monsters, which have different effects. Everyone knows these cards and what they do. Sky Striker has been meta since its release, and personally I think had the deck shown up at the right place and time, it could have been one of the very few Tier 0 decks in this game's history. But it does have many counterplay options, which is what we're about to get into. So of course we start the second part of the video on what to do when you go first. So of course there's the obvious floodgates of Anti-Spell, Fragrance, and Imperial Order. Spell-based deck loses to anti-spell cards. It's kind of obvious, so I'm not really going to talk about these a whole lot. The first card I do want to highlight, though, is Rivalry of Warlords. Since Ray is a warrior and all of the Link monsters are all machines, you can use Rivalry to keep them from going into their extra deck. And if you can play it in your deck, it kind of doesn't really hurt you a lot. But it also keeps them from using their main way of dueling and grinding, since the only thing Ray really does is turbo out the Link monsters. And the Link monsters are their main way of digging for their spell cards, recycling their spell cards, and things like that. Other cards like Twin Twister and Galaxy Cyclone and the like are really helpful for disrupting the deck. The back row hate destroying their back row before they can use it, and getting multiple uses out of them specifically is what you want to do. And if your deck can play it, citing Mistake for this deck is a really great way to slow the deck down, considering the main card of the engine is Engage. Not to mention it's very helpful against other decks like True Draco. Of course, if you want to be spicy and you don't have to worry about budget, you could play a Thunder Dragon engine, but that's not exactly splashable. Another good floodgate, provided you can run it, is Macrocosmos. Preventing all of the spell cards from going to the graveyard keeps their spells from getting their bonus effects, as well as prevents the deck from recycling them with Kagari and multi-roll. That's all I've got for going first. Let's take a look at going second. So when going second, this deck is actually kind of vulnerable to many hand traps and go second based cards. Of course, the usual hand traps, dropping Ash Blossom on Engage is obvious. That's as obvious as Ashing Desires. Stopping that +1 is a great way to slow the deck down. Using Ogre on their multi-roll or Area 0 can also be a great way to hurt the deck, especially multi-roll. Keeping them from generating constant free advantage off of that card is insanely helpful to beating the deck. Multi-roll is what allows them to go in their grind game, and using Ogre to essentially negate it is wonderful. As well as that can short circuit any disruptive plays they may have when going into the said grind game. Another great hand trap against this deck is Ghost Bell. Using Bell to stop Kagari from recycling one of their cards is an amazing way to disrupt the deck, and if they didn't exactly open up optimally, it can be a turn skip. Using Droll and Lockbird to keep them from generating massive advantage by recycling or using multiple engages can make several cards in their hand dead, provided they opened multiple engages. but it can also be, this is one of the more powerful hand traps in a simplified game state, considering their main way of, the top deck they want to see is that engage to not only get a search but a draw, and using draw and lock, after one keeps them from being able to just snowball you. Finally, for all the budget players, we have kaijus. Since all the Sky Striker spells require you to have no monsters in your main monster zone, dropping a kaiju on their board instantly turns off all of their back row, allowing you to go off scot-free without having to worry about any of their disruptive shenanigans other than the hand traps. It's a great way to disrupt the deck and kind of protect yourself from the deck's own ways of like stealing your monsters and stuff like that. But that's all I've got for this one, you guys. Short, sweet, and to the point. Please let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and feel free to share this video with a friend. But most importantly, don't forget, be a scrub.